Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned. And normally on Sundays, this would be the day where we give our weekend reading reports, but I don't have all that much to report, actually. I I almost do. I'm reading right now The Great Book of Amber. I'm reading The Great Book of Amber. And this is all 10 books of the Amber Chronicles written by Roger Zelazny. And I am about 30 pages away from finishing The Court of Chaos, or excuse me, The Courts of Chaos, which is half of the Amber Chronicles, and that is known as the Corwin Cycle. Is it the Corwin Cycle? Anyway, I'm almost finished, but I'm not quite finished. Once I'm finished, then I will have something to talk about on my weekend reading report, or I'll just do a video on that. But it's awesome. I can tell you that. It's awesome. I will tell you more after I finished it. And of course, I'm still reading Thor, reading every issue of Thor from the first run of Thor that ran from the early 1960s until the mid 90s. And it's a masterpiece. It's an underrated masterpiece of fantasy. It's awesome. So this is still going well. I'm on volume 8 of the Epic Collections, which have the Thor stories from 1975 through 1977. So that's fun. But that's really all I've read, and not much of that, unfortunately, just because, it's been one of those weeks, which I seem to have fairly often, only more so this week. So I thought I would talk about something a little bit different today, and that would be about BookTube itself. Because BookTube has changed my life, actually. It's not just because of, like, certain books that I've read or a certain book that I've read. Bro, you've got to read Marcus Aurelius. It'll change your life. Or your undeath. It's because of, just the experience of being on BookTube. So let's talk a little bit about that, because it hasn't just changed my reading life, which it has, but it's actually changed my life. My life is different now than it was before I started making BookTube videos, in some unexpected ways, or ways that I wouldn't have expected anyway when I started. But then when I started, I had rather modest expectations for my stupid channel, fully realizing that my channel would be stupid. And in that, I was right. But I never expected, too many people to even watch my dumb channel. I expected maybe 10 or 11 subscribers. That's what I thought I might get. I think we just passed 19,000. Is that right? Which is nice. Thanks to all of you who have subscribed to my dumb channel. I appreciate that. Which, that's more than I expected. But that's really not what's changed the things, because I still do my dumb videos the same way I've always done them, more or less. One thing, probably the best thing that's happened, is that I've actually made real friends. Actual friends on BookTube, from being on BookTube, which is not something I would have expected. Like I said, I didn't think anybody would even watch. So the fact that I actually made friends, that's a good thing. And of course, there's the just joy of talking about books whenever I want to people who actually want to hear what I have to say, which, in my real normal life, that's not the way it is. No, nobody wants to hear me talk about the books I'm reading in real life, ever. So that's a good thing. But I think the things that have actually changed the way I live in certain ways, or other things. Before, as far as my reading life is concerned, before I started BookTube, my reading goals were fairly modest. Every day I want to read. Every day I want to read. Read every day. That's always been my reading goal. It's it. Not a certain amount of books a year, not a certain amount of pages read in a month or anything like that. It's always been just, read every day as much as I can. Unfortunately, I'm a busy person, and so I don't have a ton of time during the day. I get up very early in the morning so that I'll have a little time to film videos and read a little bit. But that was my modest goal, read every day. And actually that still really is my main goal. I've had other goals since I've been on BookTube, but I seem to fail them. I seem to fail most of my goals on BookTube, Like this month is Ambuary. I renamed this month from January to Ambuary because my plan was to read all the Chronicles of Amber in January. That is not going to happen, and it was unrealistic to expect it. This is 1,258 pages long. And they're big pages. They're big. So obviously, I will not finish in January. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I thought maybe I could. I mean, CriminOlly could read this in a weekend. I mean, literally, he could read this in a weekend. Not me. Not everything has been positive on BookTube, I have to say. There is the inevitable comparing my reading to other booktubers who have superpowers and can read books incredibly fast, and I can't. I just can't. So there's that. But other things have been very positive. I think most things on BookTube have been positive. And one of the great things about BookTube, there are BookTube events like every month, several of them every month. And that could be too much, But one good thing about like the BookTube events that show up here is that, I have read books that I would not have read otherwise. And so as far as the reading life goes, that's important. But the one thing that has really changed my actual life is the 500 book challenge. In case you're unfamiliar, the 500 book challenge is the challenge that I set to myself, perhaps foolishly, to read 500 books that I already own before I will buy any new ones, for myself anyway. Now, this is based on a challenge that CriminOlly created, the Read What You Own challenge, and he has different tiers on his challenge, 25 books or 50 books or 75 or 100. He tops out at 100 in his challenge, which is a lot, as I've discovered. And the Read What You Own challenge has actually become very popular on BookTube. A lot of people are doing it. But, I'm a knucklehead, so I'm doing the 500 book challenge. And the reason I did that is because, well, as it turns out, I had kind of a book buying problem. You hear all the time on BookTube that you can't hoard books. It's not hoarding if it's books, It is, actually. If you start, once you get books piling up in corners and in front of bookcases and all around and in the hallway, it's once that kind of thing starts happening, yeah, you've probably got too many books. And that happened here at Stately Vaughan Manor, making the manor slightly less stately, Roger almost makes up for it, but not quite. But I had a problem because one of the things that I would just do in my regular life is I would go to the bookstore like all the time, at least once a week, and just spend money on books. And here's the thing, all the books that I own, when I bought them, I fully intended on reading them. That was my intention. Every book I bought, it's like, I want to read this one day. But the problem is now I've got thousands of books. Thousands. I've got rid of a lot of books, but I've got a lot of books. And if the physical books weren't enough, I also have I have this thing, and I was looking through this. This is my Kindle. And I have thousands of books on here too. Thousands. I didn't think I had that many, but going through it, I'm like, wow, this is a lot. I've had one of these since it wasn't the first. I got the second generation of Kindle, whatever year that was that came out. So I've had a Kindle since then and just been hoarding Kindle books ever since, which is easy to do because they don't take up any space. So you don't realize how many you have until you actually look. And I've got a lot. So I thought the 500 book challenge would be good because it would give me a reason to read a lot, 500 at least, of the books that I purchased that I probably might not read otherwise because I'd be too busy buying new books and filling up every corner of the manor with new books. The only thing is that, this is a challenge that it's not going to just take several months or a year. It's going to take years. And this has come home to me because it's been, I don't even know how long it's been since I started the challenge, but it's been a long time. It's been over a year. Easy, I think. And I am about 3 books away. Well, once I finish the Courts of Chaos, I will be 2 books away to 100. I'm almost at 100 books, but it's taken me forever. It's taken me forever to get to 100 books. I mean, you look at some of the booktubers that are doing the 100 book challenge, and it's like, oh man, I've been doing this for 3 months. It's been forever. No, it hasn't. For me, it's been forever, and I only have to do this 4 more times, and then I'm done. But this has actually changed my life because I had to change my habits. I had to change the habits of actually buying books either online or going to the bookstore or whatever, which actually was a big change because it turns out that, this was something that I would do for its own sake, going to the bookstore and shopping and buying books. It wasn't just about getting books to read one day. It was actually about the experience of purchasing books and like the thrill of the hunt of finding books. And it was its own thing. And so I've had to actually learn to live without doing that, which was actually difficult. I actually tried the 100 book challenge before, the Read What You Own challenge before, when CriminOlly first came up with the idea. And I failed miserably. I think I got to like 13 books or something absurd. But, this time I'm doing it. So I had to make some changes in my life. And that, as it turns out, is a big change when you have to change a habit, just change something that you do. That makes you feel better. It's a cool, fun thing to do, going and buying books. It was just, filling my house with books that I will never have time to read. And I've actually got to the point now where I don't think about it anymore, Going to the bookstore, since it's something, at least for me, to buy books, it's not something that I do anymore. And that was a big change. And my feelings about acquiring books and having a personal library, a lot of those opinions have changed for me. A lot of my feelings have changed about that. And I do think you can have too many books now. Whereas at one time it was like the more the better, you know. Who cares? Who cares if you can't walk down the hallway? You know, you've got a little space there, you'll be fine. Now, that doesn't work in real life. And so that is probably the biggest change. And I wonder what it's going to be like, because I do fully intend to finish this challenge, you know. And I wonder what it's going to be like 4 years from now, you know. Will I just be so out of the habit of doing this thing that I used to do all the time, at least once or twice a week? Will I go back to doing it, or will I just be done with that? It'll be interesting when that finally happens, but it's going to be a long, 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 long time. So that's probably the thing that's actually changed how I actually behave in my life. But also I've got this nice community too, you know, to talk about books and reading. It's come home to me quite clearly that books and collecting books and reading, they're different things. And reading itself has become a more important thing for me than books. And part of that change in my attitude was from being on BookTube. It's like my whole ideas about reading itself, it's different now than it was before. And I think BookTube has just been a tremendously positive experience for me. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun, Roger. And I've probably yammered on long enough, actually, because it's already... See, this is the thing. I just can go on and on. But I'll shut up now. I'll shut up. And I have some cool videos coming up, I hope, this week. I've got another Bookshelf Essential coming up. Epic Comic Book Wednesdays coming up. I've got something else that I was going to do, but I can't remember what it is right now because it's... What time is it? It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I haven't had my coffee yet, which was foolish. That was a foolish choice to do this before coffee. I'm probably incoherent. Oh well, I will catch you next time.